Hello, hello. I'm flipping back to Zoom to see if anybody wants to join me. I'm here. Come on in, knock, knock. You don't have to have your video on if you don't want to, but I would love to see some faces. So today, what I wanted to talk about kind of piggybacks off of last week's live, which was about, gosh, what was the topic? It was just about how sometimes certain things will affect your weight, and why it's a good idea to track these things. And I probably should have gone back and re-listened to it. But anyway, today's topic, and the reason I wanted to dive into it was because I had a couple of clients that have been doing all the things, but they have not been able to see the scale budge. And it becomes a source of frustration for sure. Obviously, if you're putting in the work and you don't see things happening and you kind of hit a plateau, you're like, what the frick? And it gets very frustrating. And sometimes you want to give up. But the good news is that there are reasons why your weight doesn't change. I'm just going to jump on my phone here to see if anybody is posting any comments in the group, because they don't want to come on live. All right, so I'll have both things going at once. So you're doing all the things and the scale still goes up overnight. What could it be? Is it maybe because you ate different foods yesterday? Maybe it's because you ate late at night. There's a bunch of different things that could cause your weight to go up or you to maintain and not lose, even though you had been and all of a sudden you're not. I actually have to step away real quick to feed the dog. This is crazy. Hold on. Otherwise, she'll be barking. The perils of going live. So what are the things that can cause weight spikes? First of all, alcohol would be one. Alcohol is a funny thing, but it definitely causes inflammation. You would think that if you had a night of drinking, that perhaps since it dehydrates you, that you might be lower in weight. And sometimes that happens, but more often when you have alcohol, especially later at night before you're going to bed, it disrupts your sleep, or you might make some additional food choices after several drinks that really cause your insulin to spike up, and it does interrupt your sleep. Or you just may not have the right foods coming in, and you are actually, you know what?
You just may not have
Actually,
you know what?
This is going to be the train wreck live. I'm not going to turn this down. So anyway, alcohol. It can go one way or the other. Late night eating. What tends to happen when you eat late at night is your body may spend a good portion of the time trying to metabolize the food that you've eaten. So you're not sleeping restfully, your body temperature doesn't decline as you're trying to sleep. And again, it could just be the cause of the types of foods that you're eating that tend to happen later at night. That's when we're sitting around watching TV and the chips come out and some other things like maybe chocolate or the wine and cheese. So just late night eating can tend to cause some weight gain as well. I talk about all the time, inflammatory type foods. So there are food groups that can fall into this category, and there are also specific food types that fall into this category. In general, inflammatory foods would be dairy, gluten, soy, what else? Sometimes red meat. The fifth one is escaping me. Oatmeal can tend to be something that might affect certain people. I know what it was. Legumes, alcohol, obviously. Nightshades. Nightshades are things like tomatoes, peppers, onions, garlic, lots of root vegetables. So those types of foods can cause inflammation to your gut, which could then in turn cause you to retain more water. Carbohydrates, certain types of carbohydrates definitely cause you to retain water. Again, those would be more things like potentially for you, white potatoes, pasta for sure. Let's see, potential fruits that might bother your stomach. Everybody's a little different in that regard. And really the only way you can find out is by having your finger pricked and doing the blood tests, or just doing my brain is not functioning today, an elimination diet where you would eat from a certain list of foods for 21 to 28 days, and then you would start adding certain things back in, like one inflammatory group, like dairy, for instance, into your diet to see how your body would respond. Inadequate sleep. So the average person, especially at our age, probably sleeps 6 hours or less. What you are looking to do is sleep between 7 and 9 hours, which is a definite issue for menopausal and perimenopausal women. So if you struggle with sleep, that could be why you're seeing the scale not budging or seeing that scale jump up. So if you have a really poor night of sleep, you could be retaining more water, you could have more inflammation, not necessarily fatter by any means, but you're just retaining more water. However, if you are a chronically poor sleeper, that can definitely add to weight gain. There is a hormone that is cortisol, and when you don't sleep, then you aren't getting proper recovery, and or your stress is still high because you're not allowing yourself to get that sleep, or you can't sleep, and your cortisol rises, and that is a hormone that is responsible for creating visceral fat, which is the belly fat that is surrounding your organs, which is something that as peri and menopausal women we deal with to begin with. So chronically poor sleep is something that definitely adds to the weight gain occasion. So you sleep really, really well. You have a night where you're completely stressed out and you can't get to sleep, and you may get 4 hours that night. You might notice that the scale is up the next day. Training hard after having a few days off. Training, by training, I mean like either going for a really, really long bike ride, or a really, really hard long run, or a lifting session where you've increased your weights or you've dropped your sets down substantially and you're really lifting heavy, especially after you've had a few days off, can cause inflammation and water retention. What happens when you lift, especially, is you're creating little micro tears in your muscle. And if you're not getting proper recovery or proper nutrition and water intake, that inflammation and the repair is not going to happen. And you could see a weight gain on the scale. You will definitely retain more water to avoid injury. Kind of talked about this already, but eating foods that you normally don't eat, going hog wild on dairy or wheat, or eating a lot of cabbage or eating a lot of beans. If you have sensitivities to those things and you don't normally eat them, you could see the scale jump up. I think I may have talked about this before, but pizza is a really good example of that. You could totally have weight gain from fluids from consuming pizza. If you have sensitivities to dairy, to wheat, to egg, to whatever you might have added to your pizza. Most pizzas have tomatoes in them. So if you are sensitive to nightshades, all of that could add up to a larger weight gain than you would expect. If you have joint pain, if your knees are hurting, if your shoulder is hurting, inflammation can cause fluid and weight gain. So again, kind of referenced that a little bit earlier, about how inflammation causes you to retain fluid. So joint pain could definitely be one of those causes. If you are sick, any kind of upper respiratory infection, allergies can also cause fluid retention. So if you are just getting over COVID, for instance, and you're really struggling getting your weight down, or you see a jump up after you've been sick, it could be from inflammation due to the fluid retention from your illness. So then we talk about, okay, so, I went away on vacation and I had some things that I don't normally eat. And I came back and I'm 3 or 4 pounds up. And it takes you, a couple days and maybe a couple pounds will come up, but you can't come off, but you can't get back to where you were before you were on vacation. Most often, when this happens and you've been doing most of the things that work for you since you got back for about a week, and you're still not where you want to be, that's still most likely not going to be attributed to fat, but it's mainly attributed to fluid or water retention. And you could be thinking that you're not making any progress, but that's why it's also a great idea to take pictures, because sometimes pictures will tell a better story. And then how many days will it take to get that off? It could take up to 2 weeks for all of that water to circulate through your body. So just make sure that you get yourself back to your normal habits, and you can play around with the variables. When all the variables are changing, it's really tough to kind of see what the effect is that's happening, or why the scale might be changing. But if you keep everything normal and you're doing all the things that are working, and you're still not seeing that weight drop, then it might be something that you can do, like carb cycling, where you just drop the carbs down for 2 to 3 days and just see what happens there. And then you go back up. There's a lot of different strategies that you can do if you're doing all the things and the scale is still not budging. But you would be surprised at how much of an effect the things that we spoke about can have on the scale. So again, just to recap, things that cause weight spikes, alcohol, eating late at night, inflammatory foods, certain carbohydrates, getting poor sleep, stress management, or a lot of stress, training hard after having time off, joint pain, again, just waking up in the middle of the night, and that interrupted sleep, upper respiratory infections or allergies. And that's pretty much a recap or a summary of the things that can cause weight spikes. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post them in the comments. I do have my phone up here. I am recording this so that you can rewatch it if you like to. And any questions, go ahead and type them in the comments. And I can address them while I'm on. All right, not seeing any comments, so hopefully that helps. If you do have any questions after you watch the live video, just type them down in the comments. Let me know if you're watching this live or on the replay. And I will see you all next week. Also, don't forget, I am running that scholarship promotion. So one lucky winner is going to win 30 days or 3 months, I should say, of coaching. So make sure you let me know if you are interested, and I will shoot you the link. Basically, I'm looking for someone that is looking to lose weight and feel better. We're all kind of in this together. So hopefully I can share what's worked for me and what's worked for many of my clients to help them lose weight and, more importantly, feel better. So if you are interested in that scholarship to win 3 months of coaching, just make sure you let me know, either message me here and just say I want to win or thriving, and I'll send you the link to fill out the form to apply, and I will pick a winner next week on this call. So thanks for your attention. Have a great night, and I will chat with you soon.